The laptop screen glowed with 47 folders. Each one had a girl's name. Rebecca Foster's hand trembled as she clicked the first folder. The art teacher's breath caught in her throat. These weren't homework files. These were something much worse. "Miss Foster?" A voice behind her made her jump. "Forget something?" Bryce Hawthorne stood in the doorway of the digital arts classroom, his smile too wide, his eyes too knowing. The 18-year-old honor student looked like any other Westfield High senior in his $200 sneakers and perfectly styled hair. But something in his voice made Rebecca's skin crawl. "Just cleaning up," she said, her voice steady, despite her racing heart. The folder labeled insurance still glowed on his screen. "You left your laptop." "Did I?" Bryce walked closer, each step deliberate. "Careless of me." The Friday afternoon sun cast long shadows through the art room windows. Paintbrushes sat in their holders. Student projects lined the walls. Everything looked normal. Everything except the horror on that screen. Rebecca had been teaching for 3 years. She dealt with troubled kids, angry parents, budget cuts, but she'd never dealt with this. The folder names scrolled past as she stared. Madison, Harper, Skylar, Emma. Some she recognized from her classes, others she didn't. "Interesting project you're working on," she said, turning to face him. At 26, she was only 8 years older than him. But right now, that gap felt like nothing. Bryce's smile widened. "Deep learning. It's purely academic. AI research for my Stanford application. AI research." She repeated the word slowly. "Is that what we're calling it?" His eyes flicked to the screen, then back to her. No surprise. No panic. Just that same knowing smile. "You know, Miss Foster, curiosity can be dangerous, especially when you don't understand what you're looking at." The threat hung in the air between them. Rebecca's photography background had taught her to read images quickly. She'd seen enough in those folders to know exactly what she was looking at. Deepfake pornography. Dozens of videos, all featuring female students from Westfield High. "I understand perfectly," she said. "The question is whether Principal Morrison will understand too." Bryce laughed. Actually laughed. "You think Morrison cares? You think anyone cares about some computer-generated images? They're not real. Miss Foster, no actual harm done. Tell that to the girls in those folders." "What girls?" His voice dropped lower. "I see pixels, data points, algorithmic constructions, nothing more." Rebecca's phone buzzed in her pocket. She didn't reach for it, didn't break eye contact. The smart play was to walk away, report it Monday. Let the system handle it. But the system had never handled anything at Westfield High. Not when Senator Hawthorne's son was involved. "Close the laptop," she said. "We're going to Morrison's office right now." "No," Bryce said simply. "We're not." He walked past her to his laptop, closed it with a soft click, tucked it under his arm. "You know what's funny about being the smartest person in the room? You see moves before they happen, like how you just uploaded those files to your cloud storage, like how you think that gives you power." Rebecca's blood ran cold. How did he know? "Here's what happens next," Bryce continued, heading for the door. "You delete those files. You forget what you saw. You keep teaching your little art classes. Everyone stays happy. Or," he paused at the doorway, silhouette sharp against the hallway light, "or you find out why the last teacher who crossed me moved to Minnesota. Strange how her parents' restaurant burned down the same week. Electrical fire. Total accident." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Rebecca stood alone in the art room, her hands finally allowing themselves to shake. She pulled out her phone. 17 missed calls, all from the same number. Her mother in Minnesota. "Mom?" Her voice cracked as the call connected. "Rebecca. Honey. Are you okay? We just got the strangest email." "There are photos." And her mother's voice broke. "They're not real." "Are they? Please tell me they're not real." Rebecca sank into her desk chair. The deepfakes had already started, but not of students, of her. Mom, listen to me. They're fake. Computer-generated. I need you to delete them, and your father already saw them. He's having chest pains. We don't understand. Why would someone do this? Through the window, Rebecca watched Bryce climb into his Tesla. That same smile still on his face. He waved at her. A casual gesture, the kind of wave you'd give a neighbor or a victim. 3 days. That's how long it took for her life to implode. Monday morning brought a flood of emails to Principal Morrison. Parent demanding her removal. School board members calling for investigations. Her teaching license number plastered across porn sites alongside the deep-faked videos. It's character assassination, Morrison said, not meeting her eyes across his massive oak desk. I know they're fake. Rebecca, anyone with sense knows they're fake. But perception is reality in education. So you're firing me? Transferring. Temporarily. Until this blows over. He slid a paper across the desk. Madison Elementary needs an art teacher. It's 40 minutes away. But he's doing this to students. Rebecca pushed the transfer form back. 47 girls. Principal Morrison. I saw the folders. Morrison's face went pale. You can't prove that. I uploaded. She stopped. Her cloud storage had been wiped clean Saturday morning. Every file gone. Even her backup drives at home showed nothing. He's running a deep-fake porn ring. Selling videos. Blackmailing girls. Those are serious accusations against an honor student. Against Senator Hawthorne's son. Check his laptop. On what grounds? Because a teacher facing scandal makes wild claims. Morrison stood. Ending the meeting. Take the transfer. Rebecca. For your own good. She found Emma Rodriguez crying in the supply closet Tuesday afternoon. The sophomore was supposed to be in chemistry but had been hiding for an hour. Mascara streaming down her face. He said no one would believe me. Emma whispered. Said my scholarship would disappear. My parents would see everything. Who said that? Rebecca knelt beside her, though she already knew the answer. I can't. He has videos. Not fake ones. Real ones. From a party where Emma broke down completely. $500 a month or he releases them. I work 3 jobs. My family needs that money for rent. How many others? Emma looked up through tear-stained eyes. 12 that I know of. Maybe more. We don't talk about it. Can't talk about it. He has insurance on everyone. Insurance. The word from the folder clicked into place. Not just deepfakes. Real blackmail material mixed with the generated content. Impossible to tell which was which. Plausible deniability for him. Total destruction for them. There's a teacher from last year. Emma continued. Miss Chen. She tried to help. Her apartment got broken into. Nothing stolen except her hard drives. Then photos of her showed up at her parents' work. Real private photos from her phone. She moved away. Rebecca helped Emma to her feet. We're going to stop him. You can't. His dad owns judges. Cops. Everyone. Emma grabbed Rebecca's hands. Please. Just transfer. Don't end up like Miss Chen. But Rebecca was already forming a plan. That night, she called her college roommate in Seattle. Patricia had studied Aikido for 15 years, always trying to drag Rebecca to classes. It's about redirecting energy. Patricia had always said, using their force against them. Maybe it was time to learn. Wednesday brought new horrors. The deepfakes evolved, becoming more sophisticated, more degrading. They flooded her work email, her personal accounts, her parents' Facebook pages. Each video tagged with teaching credentials, school addresses, personal information. Garrett Reeves approached her after school. Nervous energy radiating from the senior tech bro. Miss Foster, can we talk? She recognized him from Bryce's social media, part of the inner circle, the distributor. If Emma's information was right, I don't want to do this anymore, he said quickly, checking over his shoulder. The Bitcoin's not worth it. These are real people, real lives. Then stop. You don't understand. Bryce has stuff on me too. My family. My little sister's in 8th grade. He said if I quit. Garrett's voice cracked. He's got footage from her phone. Hacked through our home Wi-Fi. She's 13. Go to the police. With what? He's careful. Everything routes through proxies, crypto wallets, offshore servers. And his dad? I know about his dad. Garrett pulled out a flash drive. This has partial records. Not enough for cops. But maybe he shoved it into her hand. I'm done after Friday. Getting my family out of state. You should do the same. Thursday's faculty meeting felt like a funeral. Other teachers avoided eye contact. Whispered conversations stopped when she walked by. The art supplies budget got cut by 70%. No explanation given. We've had concerns about inappropriate content in the digital arts curriculum, Morrison announced. Effective immediately. All Photoshop lessons are suspended pending review. Rebecca knew what this was. Pressure. Isolation. Make her kid voluntarily. Clean her that way. No liability for the school. No questions about what they knew and when. After the meeting, Nurse Patricia pulled her aside. Anxiety medication requests are up 300% this semester. Self-harm incident doubled. All female students, she pressed a list into Rebecca's hand. These girls need help. Real help. The names matched the folders, every single one. That night, Rebecca met with 3 brave students willing to speak out. Madison Williams, Harper Anderson, and Skylar Davis sat in her art room after hours. Voices low, constantly checking their phones. He films us without consent at parties. Madison explained, drugs the drinks. Not enough to knock us out. Just enough to make us compliant. Suggestible. Then he mixes real footage with the fakes. Harper added, so we can't deny any of it. Can't prove which is which. How long has this been happening? Since sophomore year, Skylar said. He was 15 when he started. Called it practice for his coding skills. Rebecca felt sick. 3 years of victims. Hundreds of girls across multiple schools. All while adults looked the other way. Will you testify? The girls exchanged looks. If you can protect us, really protect us. Not just promises. I'm working on something, Rebecca said. Give me until Monday. Friday came too fast. Rebecca spent the morning teaching, pretending everything was normal. Inside, her plan solidified. She'd gathered what evidence she could, made copies, hidden drives, contacted a detective in Portland who specialized in cybercrimes. Detective Rivera seemed interested but needed more for a warrant. Oregon just passed anti-deepfake laws. Rivera had explained, but prosecution's tough. Need clear evidence of creation and distribution. Victim testimony helps, but these kids are terrified. What if I could get him on tape, confessing? Oregon's a one-party consent state for recording. But be careful. These tech kids know surveillance tricks. After school, Rebecca stayed late, packing her classroom. She left breadcrumbs. Unlocked door. Lights on. Laptop open to faculty salary database. Bait for someone who thought he owned everyone's data. She heard them before she saw them. Bryce's laugh echoing down the empty hallway. 4 p.m. on Friday. Building empty, except for janitors on the other wing. Perfect timing for privacy. Or so they thought. Yo. She actually stayed. Colton Nash's voice boomed. The muscle of the operation, 6'3" of entitled rage wrapped in a Letterman jacket. Told you she would. Bryce sounded amused. Patterns. Colton. People are predictable. Especially teachers who think they're heroes. They entered together. Bryce, Garrett, and Colton. The whole crew. Rebecca kept her back to them, pretending to organize supplies. Working late. Miss Foster? Bryce's voice dripped false concern. She turned slowly. Just finishing up. Big move on Monday. About that. He walked closer. Expensive cologne, mixing with the art room's paint smell. We need to discuss your transfer. Nothing to discuss. I'm leaving. See? That's the problem. Bryce pulled out zip ties from his pocket. You know too much. Even if you pinky promise to stay quiet, how can I trust you? Trust is so fragile these days. Garrett shifted uncomfortably by the door. Bryce, maybe we should shut up. The mask dropped from Bryce's face. No more smiles. Just cold calculation. Lock the door. Pull the blinds. This is insane. Rebecca backed toward her desk. People know I'm here. Do they? Bryce held up her phone. When had he taken it? Already sent texts saying you left early. Upset about the transfer. Very believable. Colton finished with the blinds, plunging the room into artificial twilight. Garrett locked the door, hands shaking as he set up a camera on a tripod. Know what's worse than deepfakes? Miss Foster? Bryce stepped closer. Real footage. Authentic content. No one can claim it's AI. When they see the fear in your eyes. Rebecca's hand found the pepper spray hidden under her desk. 3 years of teaching had taught her to be prepared, but prepared for students with weapons. Not this calculated evil. You did this to Miss Chen. Miss Chen was smarter than you. She negotiated, took some photos as insurance for both sides. Win-win. Bryce's eyes glinted. But you? You're still fighting, still thinking someone's coming to save you. News flash. Your Detective Rivera got reassigned this morning. Amazing what a senator can accomplish with one phone call. The trap was closing. Rebecca felt it in the air. The walls, the locked door. But Patricia's voice echoed in her mind. Redirect the energy. Use their force against them. You won't get away with this forever, she said. Buying time. Measuring distances. Forever's a long time. I only need until graduation. Then it's off to Stanford. Clean slate. New hunting grounds. He nodded to Colton. Hold her. Colton moved forward. All muscle and misplaced confidence. Rebecca's fingers tightened on the pepper spray. One chance. She had to time it perfectly. But as Colton reached for her, Garrett suddenly spoke up. I'm out. I'm done. This is too far. Bryce turned, genuinely surprised. Excuse me? You heard me. Garrett backed toward the door. Deepfakes were one thing. This is assault. Kidnapping. I'm not going to prison for you. You're right, Bryce said calmly. You're not going to prison. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen. But your sister might enjoy internet fame. 13's a trending age on certain sites. Garrett froze. On Bryce's screen, a young girl's face appeared innocent, unaware, vulnerable. Delete the insurance. Garrett. All of it. Every backup. Every drive. Or little Megan becomes very popular, very fast. The room held its breath. Rebecca watched Garrett crumble. Saw the exact moment his resistance died. He pulled out his laptop. Fingers flying across keys. Good boy. Bryce turned back to Rebecca. Where were we? Oh, right. Teaching lessons. That's when Rebecca knew this was bigger than just her. Bigger than 47 folders. This was a system, a machine, and machines could be broken. As Bryce reached for her hair, yanking hard enough to bring tears, Rebecca made a choice. Not the pepper spray. Not yet. First, she needed him talking, confessing. She needed what her wire was recording to be absolutely undeniable. Because Detective Rivera hadn't been reassigned, that was Patricia on the phone. Voice disguised. Playing a part. And the FBI task force on child exploitation was already mobilizing. The trap wasn't closing on her. It was closing on them. But first, she had to survive the next few minutes. And as Bryce's grip tightened in her hair, dragging her toward the camera, Rebecca prepared to show him exactly what art teachers could do when pushed too far. The real lesson was about to begin. Bryce's fingers twisted deeper into Rebecca's hair, pulling her head back at an unnatural angle. The camera's red light blinked like a predator's eye. Time slowed to heartbeats and breaths. Say hello to your new audience, Bryce whispered, though I doubt they'll recognize you after editing. Amazing what Iberdu can do these days. Rebecca's hand still gripped the pepper spray. But she waited. Patricia's Aikido lessons echoed. Never attack from anger. Wait for the perfect moment. Let them create their own downfall. You know what your problem is? Bryce continued, dragging her toward the camera. You think you're different? Special. Like those 47 girls thought they were too good for me. But Pixel don't lee. Miss Foster, everyone looks the same when they're broken down to data points. Is that what you tell yourself? Rebecca's voice stayed steady despite the pain. That they're just pixels? Don't psychoanalyze me. His grip tightened. I'm not some troubled kid who needs saving. I'm a businessman. Supply and demand. These girls create the content. I distribute it. Capitalism at its finest. Behind them, Garrett typed frantically, deleting files, erasing evidence. His face had gone gray, sick, with the weight of what they were doing. Colton stood guard by the door, checking his phone every few seconds. Yo, Bryce. Colton called out. Janitor's coming this way. So? Doors locked? Bryce didn't even look up. Back to our lesson. Miss Foster, Chapter 1. Actions have consequences. He yanked harder, forcing her to her knees. The pepper spray fell from her hand, rolling under a cabinet. Bryce laughed at her scrambling attempt to reach it. Pathetic. You know, the last teacher at least fought back. Made it interesting. He gestured to Garrett. How's the deletion coming? Almost done. Garrett mumbled. 90% wiped. Good. Can't have evidence lying around when the doorknob rattled. Not the janitor's keys. Something else. A louder rattle. Then silence. Who's there? Colton pressed his ear to the door. No answer. Just that strange silence that felt too heavy, too full. Bryce shrugged it off. Probably nothing. Now, where's that fighting spirit? Miss Foster? Don't tell me you're giving up already. Rebecca let her body go limp. Playing defeated, let him think he'd won. Let him get comfortable. Overconfident. Patricia's voice. The best fighters look weakest right before they strike. There we go, Bryce said. Satisfied. Acceptance. It's beautiful. Really, the moment someone realizes they're powerless, better than any drug. He knelt beside her. Phone out. Framing the shot. Smile for Stanford. They love community service on applications. That's when Garrett made a mistake. In his panic to delete files, he'd been live streaming instead of recording. The camera wasn't saving to memory. It was broadcasting. Live. To his 3,000 followers, Bryce. Garrett's voice cracked. We have a problem. What now? I'm streaming. It's live. Everything Bryce's face went white. He spun toward the camera. Saw the viewer count climbing. 50. 100. 200. Comments flooding in. Screenshots being taken. His confession about the 47 girls. The threats. Everything. Turn it off! He screamed. But Garrett was frozen, staring at his screen. I can't. It's not responding. Someone's controlling it remotely. 300 viewers. 400. The comments were savage. Someone had already identified the school. Called police. Tagged news stations. This is your fault, Bryce released Rebecca, charging at Garrett. You incompetent? He never finished the sentence. Rebecca moved. 3 years of teaching had taught her patience. 3 days of planning had taught her precision. 3 seconds of Patricia's training saved her life. As Bryce passed, she grabbed his wrist, twisted her body, used his momentum against him. The world spun as 200 pounds of entitled rage flew over her shoulder. He hit the desk with a sound like thunder. Crack. The desk split down the middle. Wood splintered. Metal bent, but that wasn't the worst sound. The worst was the snap of bone as Bryce's arm caught between Rebecca's grip and physics' brutal honesty. He screamed. Not the controlled voice of a predator anymore. Just a broken boy realizing consequences were real. My arm! You broke my arm! Colton charged from the door. All muscle and no thought. Rebecca tried to dodge, but her legs tangled in the broken desk. He was too fast. Too strong. Too. Wham! The door exploded open. Detective Rivera entered first, weapon drawn. Behind her, A full SWAT team flooded in. The live stream had done its work. Every viewer calling 911. Every screenshot shared. Every confession recorded. "Nobody move!" Rivera commanded. Colton slipped in spilled paint. Crashing into an easel, Garrett dropped to his knees, hands behind his head, and Bryce writhed on the floor, cradling his destroyed arm, still somehow trying to talk his way out. "This is assault!" he gasped. "She attacked me!" Everyone saw. Everyone saw you confess to running a deepfake pornography ring. Rivera cut him off. "To blackmail. Extortion. Conspiracy. Should I continue?" "My dad will." "Your dad's being arrested as we speak." Rivera smiled coldly. "Turns out, senators aren't above federal law. Especially when the FBI has been building a case for 6 months." Rebecca slumped against the wall. Adrenaline fading. 6 months. They'd known for 6 months. She'd been bait, willing bait. Once Rivera explained the full scope, but still bait. The wire picked up everything. Rivera told her quietly, as EMTs arrived for Bryce. "Your testimony plus the live stream, plus the victims coming forward. It's over." But it wasn't over. Not yet. The live stream had gone viral. Not just local viral, global. The viewer count hit 50,000 before Garrett's laptop finally died. News vans surrounded Westfield High within an hour. Parents descended demanding answers. The 47 folders had faces now. Daughters, sisters, friends. Emma Rodriguez arrived with her parents. Tears streaming but head high. "I want to testify," she announced. "No more hiding." One by one. They came forward. Madison, Harper, Skylar, others Rebecca had never met. Each with their story. Each finding strength in numbers. By midnight, 63 victims had identified themselves. The network was bigger than anyone imagined. Bryce got arraigned from his hospital bed. 27 charges, including production of child sexual abuse material, extortion, cyberstalking, and assault. His father faced federal corruption charges. Judges, prosecutors, police chiefs. Rivera's team had them all. "How long were you investigating?" Rebecca asked Rivera over coffee at 2 a.m. Since a teacher in Minnesota reported similar incidents. Catherine Chen. Ring any bells? Rebecca's heart stopped. "She's okay?" "More than okay. She's been helping us from witness protection. Your standing up to him gave us the final pieces we needed." The trial took 3 months. Rebecca testified for 6 hours. Voice steady. Facts clear. The wire recording played for the jury. The live stream played. 63 girls told their stories. Even Garrett testified in exchange for a plea deal, revealing offshore servers in 12 countries. Bryce tried everything. Blamed mental illness. Blamed addiction. Blamed pressure from his father. Blamed the victims for creating content. Nothing stuck. The jury deliberated for 45 minutes. Guilty. All charges. 25 years federal prison. No parole. Senator Hawthorne got 15 years. The network collapsed. Servers seized. Victims identified and helped across 6 states. It made every major newspaper, changed laws in 3 states, created mandatory reporting requirements for schools. But Rebecca remembered the quiet moments more than the headlines. Emma Rodriguez, getting her Harvard acceptance letter. Full scholarship intact. "I wrote my essay about finding my voice," she told Rebecca. They said it was the strongest they'd ever read. Madison Williams starting a support group that grew to 300 members. Harper Anderson changing her major to law to help abuse victims. Skylar Davis creating an app to detect deepfakes. Winning Google's Student Developer Challenge. Principal Morrison resigned quietly. The school board implemented mandatory digital ethics courses. Real ones. Not checkbox exercises. Rebecca taught the first class to standing room only. Technology isn't evil, she told her students. People who misuse it are. Learn to create, not destroy. Build up, not tear down. And always Always speak up when you see wrong. 6 months later, Rebecca opened the Phoenix Art Studio. Not in Portland, but right there in Westfield. A trauma-informed creative space where survivors could heal through art, photography, painting, digital creation used for good. Catherine Chen flew in from Minnesota for the opening. "You did what I couldn't," she said, hugging Rebecca tight. "You stayed and fought. We all fought." Rebecca corrected, just in different ways. The studio filled with light and laughter, canvases covered in hope instead of fear, computer screens showing creation instead of destruction, and in the corner, preserved in a glass case, sat a piece of the broken desk. Someone had painted it gold, added a plaque, "The throw that changed everything," donated by Rebecca Foster. Remember, even art teachers know how to fight back. Patricia visited from Seattle, grinning at the display. "Told you Aikido would come in handy." "One throw," Rebecca laughed. 3 years of you nagging me for one throw? Best throw of your life, though. She wasn't wrong. That single moment of redirected energy had shattered more than a desk. It broke a system of fear, cracked open a network of predators, split the silence that protected them. Detective Rivera stopped by during the grand opening. "Got another case. Similar pattern in California. Interested in consulting?" Rebecca looked around her studio. At Emma teaching younger girls to paint, at survivors becoming thrivers, at art being used to heal instead of harm. "Send me the files," she said. "But I'm not leaving here. This is home now." The detective understood. Some battles you fought by running toward danger, others by standing your ground and building something better in place of what was broken. That night, Rebecca taught her first self-defense class. 25 students, all different ages, all eager to learn. Not just physical moves, but digital safety, emotional boundaries, the power of saying no and meaning it. "Violence is the last resort," she explained, demonstrating a basic defensive stance. "But when someone threatens your safety or dignity, you have the right to protect yourself. With your voice first, your actions second, and if necessary." She moved through the throw that had changed everything. Slow motion, careful instruction, teaching them to redirect energy. Use attacker's force against them. The goal isn't to hurt anyone, she concluded. It's to survive, to escape, to make sure you get home safe. Everything else is secondary. After class, a young freshman approached hesitantly. "Miss Foster? What if they threaten your family? What if they have things on you?" Rebecca recognized the fear. Saw herself 3 months ago. Saw 63 girls who'd suffered in silence. "Then you find allies," she said gently. "You document everything. You trust the system when it works and fight to fix it when it doesn't. But most importantly, you remember that secrets only have power in darkness. Bring them to light and they lose their strength." The girl nodded, understanding dawning. Like the live stream. Exactly like the live stream. Sometimes the best defense is radical transparency. 1 year later, Westfield High had the lowest cyberbullying rate in Oregon. The Phoenix studio expanded to 3 locations. Rebecca received the State Excellence in Education Award, though she tried to decline it. "This isn't about me," she protested to the governor. "No," the governor agreed. "It's about showing other teachers they can fight back. Other students they can speak up. Other schools they can change. Take the award. Use the platform. Keep fighting." So she did. Spoke at conferences. Trained administrators. Consulted with tech companies on ethical AI. Always returning to her studio. Her students. Her mission of turning trauma into triumph through art. The broken desk piece became a traveling exhibit. When teachers fight back, the Westfield story. Museums. Schools. Community centers. Each viewing followed by discussions on digital safety, consent, and courage. Bryce Hawthorne became a cautionary tale, a brilliant mind poisoned by entitlement and enabled by power. His prison letters to the judge begging for early release only proved he'd learned nothing, still talking about pixels instead of people. data points, instead of daughters. But Rebecca didn't dwell on him. She focused on the 63 who'd found their voices, the hundreds more who came forward after, the thousands protected by new laws and awareness, the system slowly, painfully, changing. On the second anniversary of the throw, Emma Rodriguez returned from Harvard. She stood in the Phoenix studio, addressing a room full of current students. 2 years ago, I was paying $500 a month to keep a secret, terrified every day that my life would be destroyed. Then I watched our art teacher take down the scariest bully in school with one move, not because she was stronger, but because she was smarter. She waited. She planned. She turned his own evil against him. Emma paused, meeting Rebecca's eyes across the room. That's what art does. It takes our pain and transforms it, makes it powerful, makes it matter. So create, fight, speak, and know that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous, because they're not ruled by ego or anger, they're ruled by justice. And justice, when it finally moves, breaks more than desks, it breaks cycles. The room erupted in applause. Rebecca felt tears she didn't try to hide. This was why she'd stayed, why she'd fought. Not for revenge or recognition, but for moments like this, survivors becoming speakers, victims becoming victors, art becoming armor. Later, cleaning up after everyone left, Rebecca found a note tucked under the broken desk display, unsigned, but she recognized the handwriting. Thank you for showing us that peaceful artists can be warriors too, that we don't have to accept what's wrong just because it's powerful, that sometimes the best throw is the one that uses their own weight against them. You saved more than 63 girls. You saved everyone who comes after. A grateful student, Rebecca kept that note, added it to the display, a reminder that change started with one person saying no. One moment of choosing courage over comfort, one perfect throw that cracked not just wood but an entire system built on silence. The Phoenix studio stayed open late that night. Rebecca taught until her voice was hoarse and her body ached, but she smiled through it all. Because every student who learned to defend themselves was one less victim. Every voice raised was silence broken. Every throw practiced was fear defeated. And in the end, that's what education really meant. Not just teaching facts or skills, but empowering others to stand up, speak out, and when necessary, redirect the force of evil back upon itself. The broken desk would always be there, golden and gleaming, a monument to the moment everything changed, when an art teacher proved that sometimes the most powerful curriculum wasn't found in textbooks or lesson plans, sometimes it was found in the perfect application of physics, courage, and the absolute refusal to let bullies win. Class dismissed. Lesson learned. Future protected. And somewhere in Minnesota, Catherine Chen smiled at the news coverage, proud of the teacher who'd finished what she'd started. The network was done. The victims were free. And our teachers everywhere had learned an important truth. They might be peaceful by nature, but push them too far, and they'd show you exactly how dangerous creativity could be when combined with justice. The throw heard round the world. The crack that broke more than furniture. The moment that proved even in the darkest situations, someone was always willing to fight for what was right. Rebecca Foster, art teacher, survivor, warrior, proof that heroes came in all forms. And sometimes the most powerful statement was made not with words, but with one perfectly executed shoulder throw. 3 years later, Bryce Hawthorne's parole hearing made national news. Rebecca didn't attend, but 63 women did. They filled the courtroom, silent witnesses to the damage one person's cruelty could inflict. The parole board took 12 minutes to deny his request. Outside the courthouse, Emma Rodriguez, now a Harvard Law graduate, spoke to reporters. He still calls us pixels, still sees data instead of human beings, until he understands the humanity he tried to destroy. He's exactly where he belongs. That same week, Rebecca received an unexpected visitor at the Phoenix studio. A middle-aged woman with tired eyes and expensive clothes stood at the door. Hesitant. "Can I help you?" Rebecca asked. "I'm Margaret Hawthorne," the woman said quietly. "Bryce's mother." The studio fell silent. Students looked up from their projects. Rebecca felt the old tension return. Muscles remembering that night. That throw. That crack. "I know I'm not welcome," Margaret continued, "but I needed to apologize. To you. To all of them. I knew something was wrong. Saw the signs. But I chose comfort over truth. Chose my family's reputation over those girls' safety." Rebecca studied her for a long moment. "Why now?" "Because I have a daughter too. Younger than Bryce. She's 15 now. Same age as some of his victims." Margaret's voice broke. "I finally understood. When I imagined someone doing to her what my son did to others, I finally understood. The apology didn't erase the harm, didn't undo the trauma, but it mattered." Margaret Hawthorne donated $10 million to establish the Phoenix Foundation, funding studios in all 50 states. She testified at legislative hearings, using her influence to push stronger protections. A mother's guilt transformed into action. On the 5th anniversary of the throw, Westfield High held its first Phoenix Day, a celebration of survival, courage, and the power of speaking truth. Rebecca gave the keynote address to an audience of thousands. 5 years ago, I was just an art teacher trying to help my students. I never planned to become an activist or a symbol. But sometimes, life throws you into moments that define not just who you are, but who you're willing to become." She paused, looking at the faces before her. Former students, current ones, survivors, supporters, all united by the understanding that silence protected predators, while courage protected people. They say art teachers are supposed to be gentle, creative, peaceful, and we are. But we're also protectors, warriors, defenders of those who trust us with their dreams and their pain. Never underestimate someone who teaches others to create, because creation and destruction are two sides of the same power, and we choose every day which one to wield. The broken desk piece now resided in the Smithsonian, part of an exhibit on digital age justice. But Rebecca kept a small fragment in her pocket, a reminder, a talisman, a promise that she'd always be ready to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. As Phoenix Day ended and students filtered out into the evening, Rebecca stood in her original classroom, the one where everything changed. New desks, fresh paint, but the same windows where she'd first seen Bryce's laptop, where horror had transformed into action. Tomorrow, she'd teach art again. Color theory, composition, digital design. But woven through every lesson would be deeper truths. That creativity required courage. That art could be armor. That sometimes the most important thing you could teach someone wasn't technique, but the confidence to stand up and say no. The throw that changed everything had lasted 3 seconds, but its echoes would last forever. In laws written, leave a sobbed, voices raised, and in every student who learned that being peaceful didn't mean being powerless. Rebecca Foster, art teacher, Aikido student, accidental hero, living proof that sometimes the smallest actions created the biggest waves, and that broken desks could become monuments to justice. One perfect throw at a time. 5 more years passed. A decade since the throw. Rebecca's hair showed silver streaks now. Earned through countless battles fought in courtrooms, classrooms, and boardrooms. The Phoenix Foundation operated in every state, 3 territories, and 12 countries. But the work never stopped. "Miss Foster?" A young voice interrupted her evening class. "There's someone here to see you." Rebecca looked up from demonstrating brush techniques to find a ghost from the past. Garrett Reeves stood in the doorway, no longer the nervous tech bro from that terrible night. Prison had aged him, humbled him, carved away the entitlement. "I know I don't deserve your time," he said quietly, "but I needed to thank you, and to tell you what I'm doing now, against her better judgment." Rebecca listened. Garrett had served 3 years, used the time to develop anti-deepfake detection software, now released. He worked with law enforcement, teaching them to catch predators using the same tools he'd once wielded. I wake up every day, knowing I helped destroy lives. He continued, I can't undo that, but maybe I can prevent others from making my mistakes. I've identified 17 rings using my old methods, helped convict 39 predators. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. But it's something. Rebecca studied him for a long moment. Redemption was complicated. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt, but sometimes the worst people could become powerful warnings, living proof of where bad choices led. The victims get to decide if they forgive you, she finally said. Not me, but if you're serious about making amends, keep working. And remember their faces every time you're tempted to see pixels instead of people. He nodded, understanding. As he left, Rebecca noticed Emma Rodriguez in the hallway. Now, a successful prosecutor, she'd heard everything. You think people can really change? Emma asked. I think they can choose to, Rebecca replied. Whether that earns forgiveness is a different question entirely. The conversation reminded Rebecca of a letter she'd received that morning from Bryce Hawthorne, his 7th attempt to contact her. She'd burned the others unread. But something made her open this one. The handwriting was still arrogant. Letters tall and sharp. But the words surprised her. Not an apology exactly. She doubted he was capable of true remorse. But an admission. You were right about one thing. He'd written, I saw data instead of daughters. Statistics instead of souls. My father taught me people were assets to manage. You taught me they were forces that could fight back. I'm not sorry for who I was, but I'm terrified of who I created. 63 voices that will speak for decades. Hundreds more inspired by them. You didn't just throw me, Miss Foster. You threw a stone that started an avalanche. She crumpled the letter, tossed it in the trash. His fear meant nothing compared to the fear he'd caused, but his recognition of the avalanche? That mattered, because he was right. The movement had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. Phoenix Studios taught more than art now. Digital literacy, self-defense, legal rights, counseling services, political advocacy. What started as one woman refusing to back down had become a global network of survivors and supporters. Catherine Chen visited every year from Minnesota, where she now ran the Midwest Phoenix Coalition. They joke about that first throw, how it had connected teachers across the country who'd been fighting alone. Remember when we thought changing one school was victory? Catherine laughed over tea. Now we're changing laws in Congress. It was true. The Phoenix Protection Act had passed the House last month. Mandatory reporting, stronger penalties, federal funding for prevention programs. Rebecca had testified twice. Her broken desk fragment on the table beside her. The revolution continued. The avalanche grew. And somewhere in a federal prison, a former predator counted the days, knowing he'd created his own worst nightmare, an army of survivors who would never stop fighting back.